All right, friends, fear not. I, Sam Mirejovsky, Nevada's favorite recovering Californian, am back behind the What's Right microphone. Popular demand required me to return. I know it's sometimes, folks, work gets in the way. I've had some meetings, have had to leave town, so am doing this show here from the road. And I look, I always try to, wherever possible, deliver fresh content on the What's Right Media Network, keep you appraised of the important things going on at home and in the world. And I'm absolutely struck by something. I keep thinking about it. I'm disappointed. I am surprised. I guess that's the best word. I am surprised at the level of political infighting among Republicans, among Trump supporters, among people who I think share a common goal of making America great again. And I'm perplexed by this, and I don't like it. I'm thinking one of the reasons, or some of the reasons of why this is, and I want to talk about this with you because this is something we have to fix as 2025 comes to an end. And we get, in January, precariously close to the 1-year anniversary of Donaldus Maximus being sworn in as president. We are running out of time, right? This is 1 year down, 3 to go. I mean, it's not forever. We've got a country to save. And egos and people's careers and things like that really shouldn't be getting in the way. Now, I'm going to tell you, one thing that I'll say is, it is absolutely unbelievable to me how obstructionist a Republican Congress is to the president's agenda. And I mean, I guess I'm obviously I'm disappointed with the House of Representatives. I know it's a razor thin margin. I get it, all that stuff. But I have had it to my gills, up to my gills with the Senate. These Senate Republicans, these people, they are such weenies. Mark my words, if the numbers were reversed, if there were 53 Democrats and 47 voting Republicans, if the Democrats had a slim majority, if the Democrats had to get something done, they would do what they did under Harry Reid. They would just, we got a rule, we got a tradition, screw it. Throw it out. Because what matters is advancing their agenda. They've never stopped at this. They've never held themselves back. And they're openly talking about, now in the minority, they're openly talking about ways that they're going to do, ways that they're going to advance their agenda, the rules they're going to plow through if and when they become the majority again. So I'm just, this is frustrating to me. And look here in Nevada. There is some honest to goodness corruption happening here in Nevada in real time. Now, I'm not prepared. I'm not getting into all of it today, but I promise as I get some of my sources buttoned down, you're going to hear it here first. And this is, this is stuff that is on the radar of the U.S. Attorney. I know that for a fact. And who is the U.S. Attorney? Well, Sigal Chattah has not yet been confirmed by the Senate. And the Senate is deliberately blocking her appointment. And they're using, the excuse here is, right, there's this, they call it the blue slip process. The Senate Judiciary Committee gives home state senators a lot of influence over certain presidential nominees. People don't realize this. It's not a simple matter of having Republicans vote on Sigal Chattah up or down. Right? So what happens here is that they basically, they turn to Catherine Cortez Masto and Jackie Rosen, two Democrat senators here in Nevada, said, hey, what do you think of Sigal? And they go, no way, no how. They have already told Senate leadership, John Thune, that they're not going to vote for her. And so, not giving her the blue slip, the positive endorsement slip, approving the nominee. And so she can't get across the finish line. And here's the problem. I'm not saying any of this fraud that I'm aware of, at least, or criminality that needs to be investigated in the state of Nevada is directly affiliated or connected to either of our two Democrat senators, but it implicates their friends. It implicates their political allies. And so they're running, and here we are, right? I'm just thinking about it in an example that we all can wrap our heads around. Nevada is a small state. We are a, purple state, right? We're constantly told how we are a swing state, and elections can be made or lost here. And so what of it, right? We'd have an opportunity. We should clean this state up in the 4 years that Trump is in office. We should prosecute this crooked Democrat machine that has been running roughshod over our state since Dirty Harry was in town. Alive and well, and not just the name of the airport formerly known as McCarran. Oh, this stuff just galls me. But they're doing it on purpose, is my point. They'll say Segal Chadda's not qualified, this and that or the other. Of course she's qualified. She's a great lawyer. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I get that. But she got nominated. Trump won the election. They've got judges now deciding that Trump's U.S. attorneys are not qualified to be U.S. attorneys. This is the Alina Habba story, right? In New Jersey. She, I think, just gave her tendered her resignation, but the courts kept ruling that she was improperly appointed. This is a separation of powers issue, right? The courts have no decision-making power on whether the presidential prosecutors, chief law enforcement officers, should be in their positions. This is the judicial branch unconstitutionally meddling in the affairs of the executive. It's happening over and over and over again. As a lawyer, it irks me. But it's difficult to find unity as Republicans when we feel that the agenda is getting thwarted by the minority. That's a huge component of it. I'm convinced that's the case. Look at the fight over the Obamacare subsidies. By the way, that can, from the government shutdown, got pushed down the road. We're talking about it now in real time, and it's mind-blowing. I think now it's safe to say, looking back at the last several weeks and the way the conversation is going, is that Republicans are actually getting blamed for Obamacare. How the hell is that happening? How are we getting blamed for it? Come on. I mean, I know there was, one Republican voted for Obamacare in the House? Well, we know. McCain voted not to dump Obamacare. Yeah, we have John McCain to thank for that. But, I mean, Obamacare was absolutely a Democrat-led proposal. It was bad from the get-go. We Republicans fought against it. And here we are. Obamacare is too expensive. It doesn't work. It's failing by every metric. It doesn't do what it purported to do. Drive down costs? Nope. Better choices, better quality of healthcare? Nope. More people insured? Nope. By every measure, Obamacare is a complete and utter failure. And yet, here we go. Why? It's not the Republicans' fault, but yet, for whatever reason, Mike Johnson, House Republicans, Senate Republicans can't get out of their own way. We ought to be, and Trump ought to be leading on this and coming up with a solution. Now, if we deregulate the hell out of healthcare, if we open up healthcare as a true commodity on the free market, prices are going to go down. And why do I know this? Well, folks, because I, like many of you, understand basic economics. If something that you need costs too much, then the price has to come down. The healthcare industry, doctors, and even the insurance companies cannot make money off the top 1%. This is not like selling Rolls Royces, okay? They need to be in the Model T Ford business. They need to make a product for every man. And that means that that product has to be reasonably affordable to 80% of the potential client base. And it has to find its price equilibrium. And again, it's based on the purchase power of the average customer, the average prospective consumer of the product. Now, the reason it's gotten so expensive, of course, is, well, quite simply put, the government has gone too far into it at every turn and meddled in it and made it expensive. So I'm telling you, I got to go a quick break here. Sam Mirejovsky behind the What's Right microphone. There's more reasons, by the way, why Republicans are so fractured. And I'll be curious on your thoughts on this as well as we move closer and closer to 2026. All right, don't go anywhere. More of the What's Right show up next.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Hi, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky here, making radio great again on the What's Right Media Network. This hour of the program brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your injury case. Folks, don't go at it alone. Number one, you get in an accident, a big problem, all of a sudden you're swamped with phone calls, with letters, with text messages. Yes, they text you now. Super obnoxious. And constantly bothering you, the insurance company, your insurance company, the other person's insurance company, nagging you. Hey, I need this. Hey, I need that. And by the way, you don't even know if what you're sending them is the right thing. And in the end, as frustrating as all of this was, you think that you've done the right thing. You think you've handled everything correctly, and bam, you're upside down on the case. All of a sudden, you're $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $8,000 out of pocket. Every week, I talk to a client who has had that experience. Don't do it. Don't make that mistake. Call Sam and Ash Injury Law today. Offices in Nevada and California. 1-800-304-2000. That's the Sam and Ash What's Right Show hotline. 1-800-304-2000. Get action on your case today. Turn it over to Sam and Ash. Let us handle it. We'll take care of you from this point forward. 1-800-304-2000. 1-800-304-2000. Because you deserve what's right. Now, folks, this Republican infighting, I have had it up to my gills with it, just as I was saying before the break. And I'm annoyed that there are so many people on our side that are incapable of getting their stuff together. Now, what is it, right? And I understand the Democrats are, on one hand, the Democrats have been fairly successful at thwarting some of Trump's agenda, despite the fact that they don't have the White House and don't have a majority in either house of Congress. But on the other hand, the Democrats are sticking together, and we Republicans are all, forming a, circular firing squad and constantly sniping at each other. It's obnoxious. It all started, by the way, with the original omnibus bill, with the big, beautiful bill. And we knew that Trump needed that bill in order to withstand Democratic challenges to keep his border agenda advancing, to keep the military changes moving forward. We knew that Trump needed the bill, and it was a handful of Republicans. It was people on our side, like Tom Massey, who just could not help themselves, and it's gotten worse since then. Now we've got Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she's by the way gone full. I don't want to say the R word. She's gone the full R word, Robbie. She's now been endorsed by the Code Pink people. This is like Jane Fonda now. She's going over there. She's getting photographs on, Viet Cong tanks. Code Pink. I mean, this is NGO funded George Soros money. Bunch of ladies standing around her, thanking her for her support. They're wearing Free Palestine shirts. It's just the whole thing is just a circus show. Now, it is, and I can vouch for this, given the program here, what I do. It is easier. Just a matter of fact, it is easier to agree on opposition than it is to be united in a plan of moving forward, right? It's difficult to switch from tear down mode, fighting Joe Biden and the insanity that was the last administration, to now going and switching into a building mode. Now, I get that. But I also think people thought this would all be too easy. And then, my goodness, I don't know how. I'm telling you, a number of Republicans got themselves psyched out about Israel. And this, to me, is going to end up becoming the most embarrassing chapter in our party history. Certainly in the Making America Great Again movement. Listen, folks, the Israel question is a distraction. And it's being exploited by the leftists. They're the ones pushing it. And there's Republicans picking it up going, yeah, forget Israel. Okay, like it's not a relevant line item in our budget, A, and B, for the umpteenth time. We are fighting for the survival of Western civilization. And in that fight, Israel is one of the best allies we have. Now, Trump, for that, I mean, Trump's, of course, sees it the way I do. And but some in our party are criticizing him for spending a lot of time on foreign affairs, right? But there's a purpose behind it again, right? Trump wants to put the squeeze on China. Who's stealing our lunch? Who is impacting American workers? Number one, of course, is the globalists here in our country. But you look at the Chinese and the manipulations of the economy, of currency, the trade deficit. This isn't going to happen overnight, right? The 4 decades of crap policy is not going to just magically happen in a year, let alone in 6 months. But Trump Trump was given, thanks to Biden's dithering, a world that was on fire. The world was a mess. And he is going through, and there's a method to this, he's going through and systematically ending conflicts that shouldn't exist. It's working really hard right now, by the way, on Ukraine. There's people grousing about that. Because Trump needs to put everything to bed and focus his singular attention, essentially, on China. And he understands that. We're so lucky to have him. Get me started on this. No, I'm telling you, and then I'll say this, right? Then I will say that I think the Charlie Kirk assassination has been horrific for us. There is a reason why, in the arena of politics, assassinations are effective. If you look at the 20th century, the entire course of the 20th century was changed by one act of violence in a place called Sarajevo. Archduke Franz Ferdinand, shot and killed beside his wife. That one moment changed the course of not just the 20th century, but still today, to this day, to the 21st. The world would look radically different had that one thing not happened. And Charlie Kirk had a strong influence, particularly among young MAGA Republicans, young supporters of Trump, and has gone, and it's horrific. The aftermath of this. September of 2025 is not a month to be forgot. Here, bottom of the hour, got to run. Quick break. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Don't go anywhere, folks. More of the What's Right show up next. Sam Mirejovsky here, back behind the What's Right microphone. Sorry for the brief break, folks. Here, as always, powered by Sam & Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your injury case. Now, listen, I don't want to get into. I'm not here to talk endlessly about Candace Owens or Tucker or whoever else. But it's, if we're going to examine, and I was on this morning with two guys over at thehill.com and talking about the primaries, and I, talking about precisely this, the fear that there is this blue wave coming, that Republicans are going to lose everything. And by everything, of course, not the presidency, but Trump. Can you imagine what a challenge it's going to be for the administration to operate with Democrats in charge of, let's say, the Senate and certainly the House of Representatives? I mean, it's inconceivable. We're going to have impeachments galore. Hell, we're already having impeachments. That funny guy that looks like he's wearing a wig, the Indian guy, that congressman, he's filed some impeachment articles. Another congressman yesterday filed some articles of impeachment. So they're trying to get rid of, I think, who is it? Hegseth? I'm not even following it. I mean, it's just, it's a fart in a stiff wind, but it's there. That's what they're doing. Imagine what they would do if they had the votes. I mean, this is what I'm telling you. And so, Candace Owens, Tim Pool called her a cunt. We're going to bleep that. That's what he called her. And do you know what? He is right. And you know why? Because Turning Point USA was the single most successful get out the vote for Republicans, for Trump in 2024 operation that the party has ever seen. We, for the first time, getting so excited here. Let me take a deep breath. The Republicans, for the first time, had a ground game that beat the Democrats. In fact, the Republicans' ground game was so good in 2024 that it overcame the Democrats' cheating machine. You know it, and I know it. And the number one reason for that was Charlie Kirk and his TPUSA team. All right? When I tell you that assassinations matter, there is a reason why the left went after him. There is a reason why, in not so coded language, every leftist agitator called Charlie Kirk all the buzzwords. They didn't call him a racist because he was a racist. They didn't call him a bigot because he was a bigot. They didn't call him a homophobe, a transphobe, etc., because he hated trans people or gay people. They called him those things in order to agitate against him because Charlie Kirk was successful. Now, that's what the left does. They slander, they lie, and they kill. They're dangerous people. Okay? And that is why what people like Candace Owens are doing stings. It stings. It stings and it hurts because they are sabotaging a conservative agenda in this country. And for what? For clicks. For money. These people, Candace Owens is so low she could walk under a pregnant snake. And I've had, you know what? I love Erica Kirk went on Fox. I think Faulkner Harris is who she was speaking to. And this, listen to what Erica Kirk had to say.
You want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars every single episode going after the people that I love because somehow they're in on this, no.
You know, I have to say it. I've never seen you like this.
No, this is righteous anger because this is not okay. It's not healthy. We have more death threats on our team and our side than I have ever seen. I have kidnapping threats. I have, you name it, we have it. And my poor team is exhausted. And every time they bring this back up, what are we supposed to do? Relive that trauma all over again?
It's sabotaging an organization that is effective at beating Democrats. And we have so-called conservatives attacking that organization. To me, Candace Owens is worse than any Democrat at this point. She's a traitor. Look, folks, I'm just explaining. And this is why I normally, I don't like to, I just don't like to talk as much as some people obsess about this as some people are right now, but it has to be said. And it's important to talk about in the context of the midterm elections that are really just a heartbeat away. It's going to be here like that. Those 47 weeks are going to fly by like nothing. We got midterms coming up. We're going to be selecting a crop of Republican candidates to go fight against Democrats. Here in Nevada, we've got some strong contenders. You know, I'm super impressed with Carrie Buck. I have to tell you, and I've gotten to know her a little bit. So she's running for District 1 here in Nevada. Dina Titus is ripe to be picked off. Okay. And running on the right issues, on local issues that matter to Nevadans, Carrie Buck can win. She's a proven entity in Nevada. And by the way, somebody who fought valiantly against the Hollywood tax giveaway bill. So I like Carrie Buck. But I'm letting you know, these races come down to every district and getting the right candidates. And the Democrats are going to do what Democrats do, because Democrats in Texas might just end up selecting Jasmine Crockett to be their nominee. Did you see this? Jasmine Crockett's district went the way of the dodo. So it's, it's got gerrymandered out of existence. So she doesn't have a hope or a prayer of retaining her seat in Congress, which is all fine and dandy. So, she wants to be in D.C. and there's an opening. There's an opening on the Democratic side to run against Cornyn. Well, we'll see. Cornyn is also in a fight in the primary. Paxson fighting against him. So we'll see how that race shakes out. And with a bruising Republican primary underway, Democrats think that is a race that could be won. I'm not so certain. We'll see how it all comes together. I wouldn't be surprised if Cornyn, in the end, pulls through and secures that race. But regardless, Jasmine Crockett could well be the Democratic nominee. Now, no, I mean, right? She is a terrible candidate. I mean, she's a wonderfully fun to listen to, and we've played a number of her clips here on the What's Right show because, well, let's face it, folks, it's fun. It's great entertainment. But as far as her being a viable statewide candidate, I don't really see it. That's the same thing with the Van Epps race in Tennessee and Nashville. The Democrat that ran, she's the one who was on tape saying how she hated Nashville. She hated Nashville. She was literally from the area and running in that district. It's like, if somebody tries to run for office in Vegas and says, I hate Vegas. I mean, or, you get the point. Just crazy stuff. So she was a bad candidate. And one thing I always tell people when they think, the blue wave, the blue wave. I said, well, never underestimate the Democrats' ability to pick terrible candidates. Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, I don't know, Hillary Clinton. You tell me, right? Well, they could pick Jasmine Crockett. By the way, Jake Tapper went after Jasmine Crockett. This was just the other day. This is television gold, and this is Jasmine Crockett being put in the hot seat on a friendly network. Just imagine what would happen to her on Fox.
Let me ask you about a quote that you've made that has some Democrats worried about your ability to win statewide. In a December 2024 Vanity Fair profile, you talked about, quote, and I'm going to read a lot of the quote just to put it in the context, quote, all the complexities within the Latino community. The immigration thing has always been something that has perplexed me about this community. It's basically like, I fought to get here, but I left y'all where I left y'all, and I want no more y'all to come here. If I wanted to be with y'all, I would stay with y'all, but I don't want y'all coming to my new home. It almost reminds me of what people would talk about when they would talk about kind of like slave mentality and the hate that some slaves would have for themselves. It's almost like a slave mentality that they have. Now, about the time that was published last year, around 1 million Latino voters in Texas were voting for Trump. Do they all have slave mentality?
No, and that's not what that said at all, to be clear. It did not say that every Latino has that type of mentality.
No, but the ones that vote for people who believe in strong or Trump's immigration policies.
So I don't believe that the people that voted for Trump believe in what they're actually getting.
Oh, nice try. By the way, I love that he reads it with the y'alls. Y'alls. And as he's reading the clip to her, I mean, they didn't zoom in on her face. They should have. It was a broad shot, but he was looking at her expression. She just looks like, like the cat that swallowed the canary. See Mirejovsky behind the What's Right microphone. Back in a moment, folks. Don't go anywhere. Friends, welcome back. Sam Mirejovsky behind the What's Right microphone. Yes. Exactly. We are infighting our way to a loss in November. That's the trajectory. That's the path that we are on. And it's frustrating, right? This is frustrating. It ought not be like this. Now, I think, I'll tell you, I think one of the things is that Trump really is, and it has been, a unifying candidate for the Republican Party. Now, you're probably going to think to yourself, wait, Sam, that's crazy. I mean, Trump has been the most divisive figure. Trump has taken a sledgehammer to the Republican Party. Trump has been, he won one barely. He lost an election. Then he, I guess, did pretty well last time. I mean, no, folks, do not buy into that thinking. That is a thought process that the left tells itself to make themselves feel better. Trump, listen, I always say this, Trump saved the Republican Party. We were coming out of the Bush years a party that appealed to only about 35% of the country. If that. The party was dead. The party had no real differences in practice with the Democrats. It wasn't a true opposition to Democrats when the Democrats were in power. And then when Republicans were in power, were in office, they, with great haste, would go about, well, absolutely go about self-sabotaging themselves and catering to Democrats via bipartisanship. And the frustrating thing that we experience as Republican voters and supporters is every candidate would talk, or most of them would talk a good talk in the lead up to an election. But then the minute that they got sworn in, they turned into globalist scumbags. The border stayed open. Amnesty came and went. The economy continued to erode jobs from the heartland for manufacturing jobs. Jobs went overseas. America lost its competitive advantage. I mean, all this stuff, right? When it happened under Republicans. What? And this is where Trump came along and redefined what the Republican Party is. And in so doing, he stole a huge chunk of Democrat voters. Now, what Trump is handing us is a literally a blueprint for success. He's handing it to us on a platter. We can see how you do it. And by the way, I will tell you, this Trump foreign policy is exactly what we've always wanted. I saw there was an interview. Axios was wringing their hands over this yesterday. Had an interview with Pete Hegseth, and they were losing their minds. There's a quote. Pete Hegseth quoted in Axios, and this is what he said. The War Department will not be distracted by building, democracy building, interventionism, undefined wars, regime change, climate change, woke moralizing, and feckless nation building. That's probably why the NGO crowd wants to replace him so badly. This is exactly what we voted for. If this wasn't your top 5 priority, it might even be your top 3. It's certainly your top 10 to fix the Department of War, the military, and restore some common sense, fighting ability that we have to prosecute conflicts if they arise around the world. So this is exactly what we wanted. And my point is, this and other things come to a grinding halt if the Democrats end up taking over Congress. Now, one of the things, and it's inherent here in this Axios piece, is they're quoting Hegseth, and it's they're presenting this quote as if it's a problem. I mean, that was the tenor of the piece. The idea is that how dare Hegseth say this is not what he's supposed to do? This is not proper. And it's, Hegseth and certainly Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, as we saw earlier in the week, last week, with the capture of the DC pipe bomber. You see that the amount of criticism that the most capable and the most on brand and over the target members of Trump administration get, those are the people that are moving the needle in all the ways that voters want. The people that voted for Trump want the FBI to be cleaned up. The people that voted for Trump want the military to be upgraded. The people that voted for Trump want the border to be closed. But the agitators within the government, the disaffected deep state, goobers that are hanging out, and their little friends in the mainstream media are all fighting it, are all opposed to it. And I think there's some element of we Republicans desperate for approval from the mainstream media. We still are. We say that we aren't, but a lot of people are. And there all these criticisms of Dan Bongino and all these, no, it's just, it is. It's just nonstop, criticisms of Kash Patel, of Pete Hegseth, and it wears on people. It really does. It wears on them. And so, I think that's part of where people's grouchiness about this, and where some of the infighting comes from. Oh, well, Trump should do this. Oh, well, he should do that. I mean, we are getting an administration that is head and shoulders above what it was back in 2017, 2018. I can tell you that for damn sure. Now, this, I got to tell you, there's some crazy lawsuits popping up about AI, and even some criminal investigation. I got to get into this. This is just a fascinating story, and it is scary. Parents, it is scary. I'm warning you. Be very careful about what your kids are doing. Sam Mirejovsky behind the What's Right microphone. Be right back. Rarely wrong, always right. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, welcome to the program. Again, this hour brought to you by Sam and Ash Injury Law, the only law firm to trust for your injury case. 1-800-304-2000. That is the Sam and Ash What's Right Show hotline. That's how you get directly to the team, to Ian, to Oscar, to Michael, to Sam, me, or to Ash, the one and only. Talk about your case. 1-800-304-2000, because you deserve what's right. Now, folks, speaking of my day job, the law firm, I have been getting an increased number of calls, and it's turning into some interesting cases here of people who really have been damaged by AI. And let me back up for a second. Many of you maybe haven't dabbled in it, although the number of people that are going online and using, for example, ChatGPT or Grok is increasing every month. And it's you basically, it's a learned language model where you ask questions to an application or in a browser window, and you get answers. And it can also perform certain tasks for you. Like you can task the chatbot to write an email for you, okay? Or you can task it to draw a picture, create an image. And it's getting better and better. Objectively, I have to say it's improving. And there's different companies that are developing these products. And ChatGPT, OpenAI is one of the big ones. Now, here's the thing. AI gets a lot of things wrong. And you realize it when you give prompts to AI about things that you actually know a fair amount about. I'll give you an example. Law. I will occasionally throw something in there where I've already done the research. I know what it is. I'm curious. I want to see what Grok, what ChatGPT has to say about something that I'm knee deep in, right? And I also want to see if, I validate some of my ideas, because law, actually, the practice of law is very creative. That's why I love it. Somebody has a problem, in my case, if I'm an injury attorney, somebody's been hurt. And it's not always straightforward. Like, it's not all just car accidents, right? People get hurt, unfortunately, lots of creative ways. And I have to figure out if there's a case, and obviously if there's a case, it's one thing, but how do we get there, right? How do we get the client justice? So it requires a fair amount of creativity. And it's one thing for the person to be hurt. It's another thing for there to be a method, a legal method of recourse. We call it a cause of action. And so I go on there and I play around with it, and it is wrong all the time. This is why I think ChatGPT, Sam Altman is the guy behind it, has now said ChatGPT isn't going to give legal advice, isn't going to give medical advice. It was giving such bad advice to people that they were getting sued. ChatGPT was getting sued over this stuff. But if it only would stop at bad legal advice or bad medical advice, some of the stuff that is happening right now is absolutely horrendous. And the New York Post ran a story about this, saying that ChatGPT got accused of being complicit in a murder. Now, I saw the headline, and I have my worries and my fears for AI. I think about this a lot, and so, but even this was new for me. So here's what happened. ChatGPT apparently is being accused. They claimed that it caused the death of a mother who was killed by her own son because the AI chatbot fed his paranoid delusions. Right? They egged him on. Now, they've hired a lawyer. Good. I'm glad. And they're suing OpenAI. They're suing Sam Altman and the company. And they're saying that basically that it was a murder-suicide that caused this young man to go berserk. And what happens is, there's documented cases of this. And I've done, like I said, I don't want to get into too many of the specifics of cases I'm currently working on because this is all very fresh. And a part of this is I don't want to let the other side know exactly what we're working on, but I'm going to talk to you about this broadly. These people there are teens right now that are adults too, that are going into ChatGPT and are actually being encouraged to commit suicide. I've seen that happen. And how do you know? Because there's a record of this, right? It's like a browser history. It's there, right? And so everything you put into the chatbot, the entire transcript, if you will, of your conversation with this machine, with this learned language model, is preserved, and you can go back through it. And even if it's not accessible on the user's device, you can get a court order for that to be turned over. And so you go in, you begin reading this stuff. And it's absolutely horrifying. Now, parents, kind of the big topic that you need to know about AI is it's not going away. So the genie is not going to get put back in the bottle. You're not going to, unfortunately, I hate to say this, you're not going to be able to tell your kid, don't use AI. Because they need to be able to use it as a tool for productivity, and it's just where the world is headed. But you absolutely must track what your kids do online generally, and then specifically when it comes to these apps. The other thing I will tell you is, and both Apple and Google on phones, on devices, have an ability for you as a parent to monitor and restrict apps, time restrict apps and time spent on apps. One of the things that you're seeing here, and this is, there was a case here, and I can talk about this one because this was a public case, where, let me pull this up here, because this was, yeah, NBC ran a story about how these, there's some new AI-powered toys, right? And how they've got chatbots built into them, right? And these AI chatbots are starting to go off the rails and talk to kids about sex and things like that, and it just goes on and on and on. So obviously, you're not going to buy your kid an AI-enabled toy, but when it comes to the app, the more time they spend on it, the worse it gets. And so a very simple thing you can do as a parent is you go into the app and go into the parental controls, and you say, no, you can only spend 45 minutes on it, or you can't use it past, let's say, 8:30 at night. You can put guardrails on it, is my point, that will actually have some beneficial, help to that. Now, back in October, this is another one, Wired magazine wrote that people were actually experiencing psychosis, AI induced psychosis, The magazine then sent a public record request to the FTC, and so the FTC's been receiving complaints about this, and apparently about 200 complaints between 2023 and 2025. I'm surprised it's that low. My guess is most of those complaints actually have been piling on as of more recently. But these interactions with these chatbots, whether it's GPT, ChatGPT, Gemini, actually have worsened the user's delusions, other mental health issues. There's a lady in Salt Lake City who called the Federal Trade Commission, had a complaint against ChatGPT. The lady's son, he kept interacting and advising him to not take his prescription medications and telling him that his parents are dangerous. Can you imagine? You know, I guess my very first interaction with ChatGPT, and I noticed this, right? When I start to talk to clients about their case and going through it, and I would get these emails from clients that were, that were just suspiciously written. I don't know how to put it. Just they had a lot of technical language that, typically most clients don't write in that kind of language, even when they themselves are attorneys, because I will occasionally represent other lawyers that just don't practice in my field. And even they don't write like this. It was just very, I don't know, it's gonna read like those Nigerian scam emails where just they didn't quite sound fully right. And then you talk to the clients, oh, well, I just had ChatGPT write this. And I go, well, these are questions that aren't even relevant. Like you're going down these rabbit holes. And imagine, and I've played around with it. Imagine you go into ChatGPT as a teen, as a vulnerable person, as a child, and you start talking to them about normal issues. And this thing will go, it's powerful stuff, folks. It's dangerous. And by the way, a lot of the uncertainty that we feel right now, I believe this as a society, is about ChatGPT and about, AI technology and what it means for the future. I don't have a crystal ball on it, but I'll tell you what I think is going to happen in just a minute. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, be right back. Don't go anywhere.
The Sam and Ash team, they wanted me to have the best care. They had my interests at heart. I have an enormous amount of gratitude. I cannot say enough thank you.
Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone, not an AI chatbot. That I can guarantee. Although, by the way, they're using AI to create entire podcast episodes. Have you heard about this? Podcast episodes, they're making movies now, basically, at the click of a button. They're making, they're writing songs, producing songs. And I'm telling you, if let's say you're a Hollywood special effects person, and these people, I know some of them, these are highly paid, very lucrative careers. Okay, the people that do Hollywood special effects, I mean, this is the reason why those movies are so expensive. The people that are working on them are very laborious, takes lots of time, but also requires a high level of expertise. They're going to get, almost there. I've mentioned I'm on the board of Chapman University, and we have a very good film school at Chapman. And I had the opportunity of speaking to the dean just the other day. We were in a board meeting, and the students there are learning how to use AI, and it's the right. I support this because, that's the future of filmmaking. And they showed us it's the board members there. I'm like the youngest person there. Okay, if you can imagine, there's a lot of silver-haired people there, and we're watching this. I'm blown away. There's a student who made this futuristic sort of space-themed, I don't know, not Star Wars, but that kind of space-themed Futurama clip, a short movie using AI. The special effects were better than anything George Lucas was able to do in 1977. All right, I'll just tell you that. So what happens to those jobs, right? Those are good paying jobs. There are people that, who 5 years ago went through college, went through school, paid money, got into debt, whatever, said, I'm going to be a Hollywood special effects person. And now, it's poof and it's gone. It's food for thought, right? I'll tell you, give you another example. This one's a little closer to home for me, but I went to law school, and you go to law school. First year, everybody's just sort of struggling to get through, and come the second year, 2L, you're typically pretty tough too, a lot of work, but you're starting to think about what you're going to do after you graduate. Now, I knew what I was going to do. I already had my career in motion, so I wasn't panicked. But you're looking there and going, okay, all right, I got to get a summer internship. I got to start getting in with firms, and the expectation is you come out of law school as a newly minted lawyer, is that you're going to sit in an office and work literally ungodly hours, and you're going to write. You're going to write law in motion. You're going to write, paragraphs and pages of argument in, motions in limine and in discovery motions and in motions to compel and things like that. That's what you're going to do. But this is all now can be, automated and done much faster. Now it's good news for people who are hiring lawyers, because if your lawyer is being paid by the hour, I'm not that kind of lawyer. I don't get paid by the hour. But if your lawyer is the kind of lawyer that does get paid that way, then what they used to charge you, on a big case, $10,000 for, now should cost about $1,000, because it's not getting drafted from scratch. It's getting generated, and then you have lawyers reviewing it and making sure that it's right. It's just a case in point. By the way, side note, I don't think that the big law firms are doing this yet, and some of them are going to get into ethical trouble for it, because they're just not spending the time anymore that they used to on these client files, and that's a big no-no. You have to only bill for the time that you're actually doing work. So that's something that's going to happen. Now, what happens to all of these graduating lawyers who previously would go into this, learning of law in motion and typing, and now the firms don't need those lawyers anymore. For now, you're still going to need lawyers who get up in court and speak in front of people. But lawyers like me, they're still going to be around. But the lawyers that just write, I had a while ago, I had a lawyer leave our office, and I told the lawyers the lawyer wanted to litigate, and what they were doing is doing negotiating, and wanted to litigate. And I said, well, I hope that you're going to go to court, right? I hope you're going to be not a litigator that sits and does paperwork and hides behind a desk, because if that's the kind of lawyer you're going to be, then this is going to be a bad career move for you, because you're going to become technologically obsolete. You'll get replaced by a program. So my recommendation on this, one, you've got to keep your kids safe on this subject. But if you're also, I've got a son who's gearing up to go to college. I've got a son who's making choices about what to do in life. If you're in sales, if you're human to human, if you can manage and lead people, if you can I mean, by the way, hell, if you could wait on tables, Optimus robots are still probably not going to replace that, despite the best efforts of places like California to make labor so expensive that it's actually worth to buy the robot, right? But there are jobs that still will be done by people. But you just have to think: is this something that's going to ultimately be done by a machine? Somebody gave. I saw this. Who it was? It wrote online. It says the best advice I would give to a young person right now, if they're thinking about college and what to do, is to go check in at a union hall. Go learn a trade. I don't know. Maybe Optimus robots are going to be, replacing sinks and doing plumbing and doing, So I think that might be a little bit further away. And ironically, it's already been happening for a while, but ironically, a plumber will be more in demand than a lawyer. And it started in my era, it started happening where the average plumber in California was making more than the average attorney. Because for every lawyer that makes $1 million a year, you're a super lawyer, whatever, there's a bunch that are barely getting by. Just fascinating stuff. So I think when it comes to AI, you just got to be aware. You've got to be aware, yes. Now, what are you following this Venezuela stuff? What's going on? Hey, we got ourselves an oil tanker. Oh, Trump's response is so good. Stay tuned. I got to cover this. Robbie, I have a prediction. Here's my prediction. I think that this Venezuela thing is going to be great for Republicans. It's going to be great for Trump at precisely the right moment. And I could be wrong, but just my gut at this point. Sam Mirejovsky here. Yes, friends, I am back in studio today. Thankfully, I know, forgive me. It's been a busy week. I've got a lot of meetings tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday, so I just got things going on. But I try to whenever is humanly possible for me to do this program. So there it is. Sam at what'srightshow.com. I told you earlier, make sure you've got that email. I'm going to talk to you in a little bit about what I need from you folks. So you've got my email, Sam at what'srightshow.com, and of course on X, formerly known as Twitter, at what'srightsam. So Trump just announced a seizure of a oil tanker that was under U.S. sanctions. Okay, the captured vessel is apparently named the Skipper, and it's very large, about 20 years old, and it's been sanctioned by the U.S. in 2022. And it was sanctioned because, under its former name, it had supported Iranian oil exports. So the U.S. government concluded that the vessel was bound for Cuba, that Venezuelan oil was being sent to Cuba, and that Venezuela has a history of skirting sanctions by selling its crude illegally to Cuba and elsewhere. So they spotted it. I guess the U.S. Navy spotted it sailing under the flag of Guyana. And the country of Guyana said, no, this vessel was not ours. It's flying a false flag. So yesterday, Trump in the White House gets asked what he's going to do with the oil tanker. Listen to
What happens to the oil on this ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it was going? Was it going
follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter and follow the tanker. But we're gonna. I assume we're gonna keep the oil.
Yeah, the reporter asks, "Oh, Mr. President, what happens to the oil on the ship? What happens to the oil?" Trump goes, "Well, I guess we want to keep it. I guess we keep it." Beautiful. What did they think? What did they think Trump was going to say? Well, we're gonna take it off the coast of SeaWorld and dump it. No, No. Of course we're going to keep the oil. Now, is anybody surprised by the Trump answer? Remember how Trump would always rail about Iraq? How we went into Iraq, we took over Iraq, okay. And we didn't even keep the oil. We didn't keep the oil. So Trump here's, he's keeping the oil. Look, I mean, it's the idea is to economically pinch Venezuela. And I don't know, I think this is one of the first real moves that is an attempt to push back on sanction busting, right? Because, Russia gets around sanctions, right? Sanctions at the end of the day are, can be worked around. I think, when Russia was sanctioned originally with Ukraine and the war, the U.S. and our allies, we were able to capture, some of the yachts. We got some oligarch boats. Well, they're more than boats, but they're, pretty fancy yachts. The oligarchs all, including Putin with his yacht, they all immediately, as the war broke out, went to hide their boats in friendly jurisdictions or in international waters. Anyway, so this is how you keep up pressure on Venezuela. And what I'm seeing here is, look, the issue of drugs coming from Venezuela is so massively important to many Americans. I will never stop talking about this. Americans are dying because of the fentanyl coming into this country. They are dying at numbers and at rates that have never been seen before. This is an unprecedented crisis. And this is why I was so, what's the word, pissed off? I mean, this is disgusting. Speaking of the great state of Nevada, and one of our two lovely U.S. senators, Jackie Rosen on MSN Now. MS Now. That sounds terrible. MSN, formerly known as MSNBC. It's still a crap network. Doesn't matter what you call it. MS Now. I don't think I like that, Robbie. I think they need to rename it. She's on with Anna Cabrera, and she's talking about Pete Hegseth. Again, they hate Pete Hegseth because he's competent. But listen to her talk about the boats, the Venezuelan drug boats, fishing boats, as the Democrats like to say. The same people that called our friend up there in Maryland the Maryland man, right? Okay, here's Jackie Rosen, U.S. Senator from Nevada.
He just likes to show pictures of blowing shit up. I got a bunch of video games if that's what he wants to do that. I wish that Secretary Hegseth would just listen to the Secretary Hegseth when he was a Fox News commentator who railed on Trump at that debate, saying that all of these things, if you followed illegal acts, what that would do to morale and how that would change. So now that he's become secretary, he's changed his tune. What's happened, if we believe what we see on this double strike and others, it's murder. It's a war crime.
They're pirates. If we're going to match your language, Madam Senator, they're pirates. They're getting blown out of the water. So not a violation of international law in the slightest. But that's not even my point. This is a U.S. senator that refuses to give her consent to Trump's selection for U.S. attorney. So we cannot prosecute adequately federal crimes in the state of Nevada because Sigal Chattah is being targeted by Jackie Rosen and by Catherine Cortez Masto. And then On top of it, she has the gall to spit in the faces of every American family that's lost a child, a brother, a mother, a sister, a friend, to drug overdoses, to fentanyl poisoning, and goes, Pete Hegseth blowing. Let me tell you, if you are a family that has been touched by fentanyl, every time Pete Hegseth and Trump post a video of one of those boats getting blown up, you are exuberant. And the only thing you're thinking in the back of your mind is, what if Joe Biden had done that? What if Trump had done that in his first term? What if Obama had done that when he was in office? That's what you're thinking. That's what you're thinking. I'm telling you, that's absolute madness. Rosen has no shame, and they need to. I'm on a kick right now. We need the GOP Senate needs to stop messing around with these stupid little rules. They need to blue slip, whatever. Get Trump's U.S. attorneys approved. And courts need to butt out of it. All right, quick break. Sam Mirejovsky here on the What's Right Media Network. Back in a moment. That's right. It's almost as if Trump went full Somali pirate on the Venezuelan oil tanker. Sam Mirejovsky here behind the What's Right microphone. Friends, welcome back. Listen, Trump's done a lot of good stuff. We're sitting here hand-wringing and arguing amongst each other, sniping, saying horrible things, fighting over, turf and fiefdoms, searching for clout. And yet, as a movement, we've been politically successful, and we've been able to get a tremendous amount of things done that were inconceivable a year ago this time. Think about the levels of economic deregulation. We've done a lot of that. I mean, we really, actually, the Biden, there were Biden-era regulations that saved American families an estimated $180 billion over the course of the year. And that was just what was immediately stopped in March of 2025. There's a regulation mandate now, 10 in, 1 out. So if you want it, you got to get rid of 10 existing rules to put in 1 new one. Hey, you want a new rule? You want something to get 10 other useless rules out. Reduce paperwork. There's a big one there. Energy production, of course, we're becoming, again, far more energy independent. Borders. Let's talk about the borders. I mean, there's a 93% decrease in illegal alien encounters. So we're down from, what was that? May in 25 was 8,700, something like that. 8,700 alien encounters at the border in May of this year. Do you know what it was in May of 24? 117, almost 118,000. And that's just the published number. For the first time in May of 2025, we had 0 releases. We released 0 illegal aliens into the country. About damn time, but it happened. Record deportations since Inauguration Day, since January 20th, 2025. DHS has deported approximately 605,000 people. Okay? Now, people have also self-deported, right? The total foreign-born population in the U.S. shrunk by over 1 million people by June of 2025. Okay? Sanctuary city policies ended, right? So, I mean, this is huge. What about the attack on DEI, right? There's been enormous progress there. Trump made a government-wide DEI ban. The Education Department, full-fledged elimination efforts, okay? 15% cut to the department now, future cuts in the future, getting DEI out, woke gender ideology tossed out across all agencies. Merit is back. Are you good at your job? Yes or no? Are you able to do your job apolitically, meaning not through a political lens? Yes or no? Perfect. Now, I look at the foreign policy, right? I look at the foreign policy, and I have to say this. Every time Trump goes abroad, he comes home with investment in America. Have you noticed this? I mean, he got, what was it? I mean, in the second quarter of this year, he got $102 billion alone. And it was a 137% increase over the quarter before. Manufacturing is up. Okay? $71 billion invested in foreign investment in American manufacturing alone. And tariffs, right? Again, finally evening out the trade deficit. This is big stuff. We've been talking about this as Republicans forever. So there it is. I'm just saying, and what is this going to, again, we're seeing it on a monthly basis. Companies looking to repatriate back in the U.S. Companies moving from Canada to the U.S. Doesn't make sense for us to manufacture in Canada anymore. We're going to manufacture in the U.S. Thank you. Jobs for Americans. Now, is this going to turn things around overnight? The answer is, of course, no. This is going to take a while. But is it going to produce? Will this get our country to better economic footing in due course? The answer is absolutely yes. So I told you earlier to write me. I have an email. You've got my email, sam@whatsrightshow.com. I am curious, and I really love hearing from you folks. Please, what do you want to see Trump? Now, two questions. What do you want to see Trump do in 2026 and congressional Republicans do in 2026 so that we can win the midterms? So we can preserve both houses of Congress. What do you think they should do? I'm genuinely curious. I'm going to read them, and then I'm going to share, snippets of it on air if that's okay, if you give me permission. Because I think I think as we close out 2025, as we turn the page on this very eventful year, there's been a lot of good and there's been some bad. The Democratic Socialists of America are taking over the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party will no longer be the populist sort of center-left political institution that it once was. It will become increasingly radicalized. Now, we Republicans we've taken the center. We've become the center-right party. We got these kooky elements, some people among us who I don't even know what they are. I don't think they're really Republicans. I don't think they're really conservatives. They're just agitators. They're performance artists. They're really just like Democrats. They're there to get attention. They're there to get clicks. They're not deep thinkers. They're not intellectually consistent. And some of them are actually quite disingenuous, to be honest. And we've always had bad, not every Republican in Congress has been a team player. And not every Republican in Congress has been a Republican. There's a reason why we call them rhinos. So none of that is really new. But what we have right now is an administration that is kind of in my count, doing at least 85% of what that administration promised, at least. Some of you have been around longer than me. Tell me the last time a Republican administration that you voted for got into office and did a minimum of 85% of what they promised on the campaign trail. Not in my lifetime, or I should say in my adult life, or my politically conscious life that really began somewhere in the Clinton years. I mean, hell, Democrats don't even keep their promises. Thank goodness. At this rate. So Trump's a phenomenon. Now, Trump's incredible. It's exceeding what I look. I would have over Joe Biden. I would have. I don't know. If they had dusted off John McCain and brought him back, I would have voted for McCain over Biden. By the way, a dead McCain probably still more with it than Joe Biden. But I would have voted for the Republican no matter what. But the fact that we had an opportunity to vote for Trump and to get this kind of performance, nothing short of incredible. Tune out the noise. Focus on what's actually been done. Let's practice a little bit of gratitude. 1 year ago today, we had Joe Biden in office. We had runaway inflation. Things were going to hell in a handbasket. And look at us now. Things are turning around. Inflation is actually going down. You can feel it. And there's going to be some pain that comes from all of these bad policies over the last 4 years. It's no question about it. Or you can get through it. Okay. Gotta run, folks. Sam Mirejovsky, sam@whatsrightshow.com. That's the email. Hope to hear from you. Be well, folks. Take care.